Hey everybody, Roman versus with the Squashfest podcast and my co-host.
I don't care what Becky Lynch says. Bailey is not a piece of garbage. The boy harmed.
I can't with you.
I can't.
That promo bothered you that much?
That promo, I was watching it. I had to replay it back because I didn't understand where she was going with it.
Oh, okay.
We'll get into it. It was just like, wait, what? Oh God.
Did you check out the interview that I sent you with
I seen
Becky?
parts. I seen clips of it before you had sent it to me.
Copy.
Oh man.
You
Oh my
yawning just
mind.
as much as I am.
Yeah, I don't know. I am, man. I'm sleepy. That Nick game really took it out of me yesterday. Anyways, but we're here to talk
Well,
about wrestling.
I was gonna say what you were screaming your head off.
Yeah, pretty much. It was such a great game. I didn't think they were going to win. They were down 20. They came back to win, and they won me $35 on the game. So,
Let's go.
anyways, let's get into Raw. What did you think of Monday Night Raw?
Overall solid. I thought solid show.
Much better than SmackDown.
Yeah, much
For
better than
some
SmackDown.
for some reason, and they're both 3 hour long shows right now.
Mm-hmm.
For some reason, Raw just seems to be the pacing and how they tell their stories just keeps you more engaged than what's happening on SmackDown.
Okay.
Maybe it's because Cena's holding the world championship over on SmackDown and he's not there every week. But the story of Heyman and Rollins, it makes Raw a more enjoyable experience
Well,
for me
also
at
think
least.
about that. When you have a main story like that, they sprinkled it throughout the entire show.
Hmm.
You can't
Hmm.
do that in the case of Cena when he's not even around.
Yep.
And no matter who he's feuding with, like right now it's Orton, you can't have Orton carry that story solo. Like
Yep.
there's not that many players involved in that feud for it to keep going without Cena being present. That and also Randy Orton isn't present every week.
I think he is.
He wasn't on this SmackDown.
He cut a promo.
Oh, he did. You're right.
Yeah. He was definitely there.
I I stick to
But
everything I said up until that point.
no, he definitely cut a promo. Um, yeah. So Raw last night it was solid. It was a solid enough show. It was a Raw before Backlash.
Backlash is this week, right?
Saturday.
Oof.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Um, yeah. So let's just get into it.
Yeah.
The show kicks off with Jay Uso in the ring, and he's doing his normal Jay Uso.
Yeah, I was gonna say, can I just say that every time Jey Uso's coming to the ring, I skip forward.
Yeah.
I skip
I
forward
don't need to
because
see him dance.
I don't need
Dancing.
the 10-minute entrance. I don't.
Hmm.
So okay, just making sure that we're on the same
No,
page
we're
here.
on the same page.
Okay.
So he starts. He calls out Logan Paul for this week because of how Logan Paul punched him in the back last week. I
Yep.
punched him in the backstage last week. So he calls out Logan Paul to be interrupted by Paul Heyman, which was a nice surprise. Heyman, why do I have you on this
I don't know, but
screen?
not the right Paul.
Yeah, yeah. So Paul Heyman comes out instead of Logan Paul,
Hmm.
and Paul Heyman, I thought he was going to take a heart attack legitimately in that ring because his performance was amazing.
Amazing.
So Paul Heyman enters the ring, and Jey Uso looks at him and says, "You have a lot of balls coming into this ring while I'm here after what you just did to my family." And Heyman starts cutting a promo talking about how, "Oh, I'm always the bad guy, right? I had to I lost my best friend. My best friend put me in an impossible position. Uh, Same thing he's been saying, and put me in a position where I was in where Roman Reigns was regardless going to hate me for my choice." And then your cousin, our tribal chief, and every time he says it still, he does our tribal chief praying. He said your cousin didn't understand that when he was a high school football player and I was with CM Punk years ago, me and Punk would talk about me being in his corner at the main events of WrestleMania. And he was so upset that I would do something for my best friend that I'm the bad guy, right? I'm the backstabber. I'm the guy who always he says it. So I'm the bastard. I'm the backstabber. And as he's doing this, he's yelling, screaming, about to look like he's about to pop a blood vessel. And Jay has the line of the night. He just looks at it and he goes, "Are you okay?"
Yeah.
I was just like, what the heck? He goes, "All of that is great, but what does that have to do with me?"
Yeah.
So Heyman gets back on track. He goes, "None of that has to do with you. What does have to do with you is Seth Rollins defeated both CM Punk and Roman Reigns, pinned your cousin, the tribal chief, at WrestleMania. So he's automatically the number one contender for your championship."
He said should be the number one contender.
Okay, well, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But the same thing I was saying about Punk. If Punk would have won that match, he would automatically be the number one contender because he beat those two guys. But same thing.
Yeah.
So he should be the number one contender. And for Seth Rollins, even though Jay, you wanted to be champion, Seth needs to be champion because that's our vision for the future, and Seth needs to be champion. So I'm going to do you a favor. I'm going to let you pick the day that you lose your championship to Seth freaking Rollins. It could, and Jey Uso, immediately being the fighting champion he is, gets in Heyman's face and says, "You know what, Seth, Jay, we'll do it tonight." So really effective segment. As soon as I saw this, because I saw it on socials before I even watched the show when I was watching the game. As soon as I saw this, I'm like, I hope they give it to Seth. I really hope they take the title off Jay right away.
I knew you were gonna say that. And I was genuinely concerned at certain points in that match. I was genuinely concerned because right now we're in the Paul Levesque era where a title can switch hands on a Monday night randomly. You know what I mean? So
that championship is going to be the championship that they swap around a lot. They're not going to do it with the other title.
Yeah. So I thought it was a very good segment. I thought it was some of Paul Heyman's best work. I love the fact so I don't know if you picked up on this, but we had talked about this months ago. How in the Judgment Day feud between the Judgment Day, Rhea Ripley, and Damian Priest, who's technically the bad guy?
Technically, the bad guy would have been Liv and Dom.
No, we discussed this. Technically, remember, Dom turned on them, but technically, he was kidnapped.
Technically it's Rhea.
Technically it's Rhea.
Brainwashed Dom. Yes. Correct.
So technically it's them, right? But whose side are you on?
You're on the side of the baby faces. You're on the side of Rhea and Damian.
So it just made me think of this and the fact that everything Paul Heyman said was right.
Mm-hmm.
Every single thing that came out of his mouth, you, as a best friend, you don't put your best friend in a position where he's screwed either way. You know what I mean? And as the tribal chief, countless times he didn't take care of his people.
Mm-hmm.
Just like Paul Heyman. That's what I mean. Like how many times did he betray him? He even said it. He said, "You lost at WrestleMania. You left me to fend for myself. Then after I get attacked, you came back, but it wasn't for me. It was for the Ulafala." Like, there's so much that he mentioned that is absolutely true, and yet he's the guy we're booing.
Yep.
So it just made me, the parallels between the two scenarios, it's hilarious to me. So that's what immediately came to my mind when I was listening to that promo.
Well, I've been saying it for weeks, like even before Mania. Rollins has been telling no lies in this entire story. Rollins and Heyman's reasoning for doing what they did is logical and sound. Now, they're the bad guys because of how it went down in traditional wrestling tropes. You turned on the two baby faces, right?
Yeah.
But Rollins was 100% right going into that show. Punk, you left us. Punk, you left all of your fans in WWE and talked bad about this company for years and talked about how this wasn't real professional wrestling when we all love it. Hey, uh, uh, not
Roman.
Hunter. Roman, thank you. Roman, you're the guy who's just using everybody, including your own family members, to maintain your spot at the top because you're so butthurt of what I did years ago that you need the acknowledgement from everybody for your greatness, and you go away all the time and leave everybody to fend for themselves. Not only Heyman, you have the Usos to fend for themselves. You put Sammy in a bad position when he was in the bloodline. So why would I not do it and try to fix the business moving forward with one of the great minds in the business? Such logic makes sense. He's the bad guy. He's terrible because the route he's taken is not pure of heart, which what Sammy was saying to him last week. Oh, we'll get into Sammy later. Like him being on the show just made no sense to me at all. But
I don't know why you say that, but
after the beatdown last week, he needed to go away for like 5 weeks.
Yes, you said that. That now I understand why you're saying that. Yes, we'll get into that because I will debate you on that. Continue.
It's just so. All right. Well, that was an effective segment, and then it is announced coming out of the break that we did get that match last night. We got Rollins and Jey Uso in what might be Jey Uso's best one-on-one match in his career.
Yeah,
I would put it's either that or the one with Roman.
Yeah.
So the first match of the night, fantastic match, and this is what happens when you give people time. JD McDonough and Penta had a crazy, incredible, fantastic match. McDonough is so overlooked, and I was thinking about this earlier. We need to do short form content where we talk about our top 5 favorite jobbers in WWE.
Top 5 favorite jobbers.
Yeah, like will you list your top 5 favorite jobbers, and I list my top 5 because I can get mine real easy. But McDonough's on that list.
I'm interested. I'm definitely interested. Okay.
Top 5 favorite jobbers in WWE. Guys who you know are not going to win their matches.
But they're going to put on a hell of a match.
Yes, you love to watch them. You're interested every time they're in the ring.
Man.
So, yeah. McDonough's on my list. So McDonough and Penta have a fantastic match. I've been saying this for a long time. Jordan Devlin is on that short list of guys who just puts on bangers, and him and being trained under Finn you see a lot of Finn influence in him. This was an incredibly athletic match. His moonsault at the end of it is just beautiful. There are times where I thought, I know you're not going to win this match, but I would love to see a run for McDonough one day because he's just incredible. Essentially, towards the end of the match, we start getting the after like good 15 minutes of back and forth, we start getting the shenanigans between Judgment Day and Penta. Finn gets on the apron, tries to get his attention. Carlito gets a sucker punch to him. Finn has a hilarious moment where after he hits him with a clothesline or a sling blade, he tries to slide him into the ring, and the referee catches him. So he clotheslines him, and then he tries to roll Penta back into the ring, and the referee's just looking at him roll Penta into the ring, and he's like, "What? I didn't do nothing." And then as they're leaving, he's just like, "I'm sorry," and just like it's hilarious. Penta gets the upper hand. Penta goes to the top rope to hit some sort of top rope maneuver. Grande Americano. Chad Gable jumps up on the ring apron, grabs Penta's foot.
He deserved everything he got.
He backhanded him off. McDonough hits a superplex. He goes for a moonsault from the other corner. He misses, and Penta hits the Mexican Destroyer pile driver for the win. My takeaway from this match, yes, you're not going to have Penta lose. But you had 4 guys cheating to try to get this win over him, and they all look like bumbling fools. Like, you can't keep doing this with this group. Like, I understand Judgment Day, or you have Liv and Raquel over here who are tag champions. You have Dom over here who's Intercontinental champion. The other 3 are kind of in this Three Stooges weird role where they can't do anything right. Like, and one's a former world champion. Like, can we book that group somewhat good, so that way we care when they're in matches.
I would use your logic and say they don't need it.
I get it, but it's
losses don't hurt.
Losses don't matter, especially. I mean, Mcdonagh hasn't got a win. I'm going to say McDonagh's never gotten a singles win in his main roster career. You can fact check that. I don't think he's ever won a singles match.
Well, we got to look into that because that would be a crazy statistic.
So, I mean, Finn won a year and a half between singles wins. Like before he won going into WrestleMania, his last singles win was September of 23. Wow. It was crazy. Yeah, so they booked them really terribly. This was a really good match. I really enjoyed it. You're keeping the Chad Gable.
That's what I was going to say.
Over Luchador's story going.
And my favorite thing is, again, when there's intertwining stories.
Yeah.
So, again, the fact that he has his main feud happening with the Judgment Day, but then he's also with the Grande Americano stuff, it's great. Mm-hmm. Especially because, correct me if I'm wrong, he was the only luchador featured last night.
Yes, because the LWO was not on the show.
Yeah. So he was the only one featured, so they kept it going because every week that's been an integral part of some of the stories.
Yeah, but we talked also about the LWO probably going off of television since Rey Mysterio had surgery and is going to be off TV for a while, so you're not going to do anything with that group until he gets back.
Yeah.
Side note, El Grande Americano is now a WWE champion. He beat Dragon Lee for the Speed Championship before Raw last night.
It's not canon.
We have a...
It's not canon. You're the one that tells me every day that it's not canon.
And the fake Mexican beat the real Mexican on Cinco de Mayo. Criminal.
That's crazy.
Oh, God. Anyways.
That's crazy.
Uh-huh.
And disrespectful.
Right. It was totally disrespectful. I saw that and I was like hilarious. But El Grande Americano is now a WWE champion. All right. So we get that. And then we get a backstage segment between Adam Pearce and Grayson Waller, Australian Miz. And Grayson Waller's there and they're talking about Grayson Waller's match coming up in the next segment.
Which I thought it was interesting because we were just talking about the fact that these two haven't been featured on the show, right? And what I think they're doing is essentially certain superstars are only going to be featured like every other week or every third Monday of the month. You know what I mean? Because that's what appears. If you look back, that's essentially what they're doing with them. They'll give them like 2 weeks off and then they'll bring them back and continue the story where they left off, which is the dissension.
The dissension of them too. It feels like that's been going on for 6 months.
But again, technically it might be because they're going weeks without being on television.
Yeah.
So it might just very well be 6 months.
Yeah, pretty much. So Australian Miz is trying to get out of his match. And
the fact you call him that every time.
He's what he is, bro. Grayson Waller's trying to get out of his match, and Adam Pearce is like, "Hey, you begged me for a singles opportunity last week. I'm giving you one, and now because you don't like your opponent, you don't want to have this match. No, you're stuck with it." And then you see Austin Theory walk into the frame, and Austin Theory's already in his ring gear, which is one of my wrestling tropes that I hate. Austin Theory did not have a scheduled match last night in kayfabe, so why are you in your gear? Mm-hmm. All oiled up and shit.
You stay ready.
No, that's not a thing.
Stay ready.
It's not a thing. Okay, so he's like, all right, no. So Grayson's like, I have a great idea, Austin. You're my bud. Why don't you take this match? I'm sorry that I didn't talk to you about me getting a singles opportunity first. But why don't you just take this match? And Austin's like, all right, I'm ready. Let's go. And then Adam Pearce goes, you want the match? I don't care. Just go out there and have the match. And then
he said, I'm being a team player.
I'm being a team
player. He's like, are you being a team player?
So Austin looks at him. He goes, who's my match against? And he goes, it's better if we surprise you.
Yeah.
No, you're his teammate. Tell him who his match is against. So they come out to the ring. And after break, they come out to the ring, and Grayson Waller sells it so well where he's worried, and Sheamus's music hits. And apparently Sheamus has not been on TV since January.
Mm-hmm.
As much as Sheamus is a Hall of Famer, I'm going to tell you the truth. I did not miss Sheamus because his matches are good. This was a really good match. Austin Theory got some nice hope spots in. He has some really unique, crazy offense that no one hits. I always say that standing, jumping blockbuster he does from his feet is an amazing spot. I love the fact that they continued telling the story of the dissension during the match, where Austin kept looking at Grayson Waller when he was getting beaten down, or when he was on top, and Grayson Waller couldn't watch the match because of what he had done. He kept putting his head down. He felt so bad. So Sheamus gets the win. He hits a bro kick for the win. Unsurprisingly, we talk about Austin Theory all the time. He's also on my list of favorite jobbers. He might be number one. Like, I'm sorry, they need to push him. This team is finally splitting up. I think we're finally gonna get the Austin Theory babyface push coming out of this, and then I can hopefully remove him from that list. But that was a good match. Not a fantastic match, but a good match. It was just to move the story along.
I agree with your sentiments. I mean, all respect to Sheamus. He's definitely a Hall of Famer. He's done a lot for the business, but yeah, I'm a little over it because it's the same thing. There's nothing new to his character. It's the Celtic Warrior.
I like to fight.
I like to fight. Let's do a banger. Like that's all he does. At least with Drew, like he's more or less the same, but his character has depth to it. There's reasons for his feuds and stuff like that. Sheamus is always I'm just looking for a fight type of deal. And it's very stale. They need to if they're gonna do something with Sheamus, I'm cool with it, but do something new.
I mean, the only thing he has not done, they say every time he has a match, is the only title he has not won is the Intercontinental Championship. And have him go after Dom. Start having a list of people who want Dom's Intercontinental Championship. We'll get into that later. AJ Styles backstage segment. Not Finn Balor, AJ Styles, because we did this the other day, and I said AJ's going after Finn, and you're like, I mean AJ's going after Dom. You're like, and you started talking about Finn. So AJ's segment with Finn, within the backstage was actually okay. Yeah, but have a list of people who want Dom's championship who have not won it. Like AJ's going for it. Have Sheamus go for it. You got to do something with these guys. I'm like that's what I'm saying. It's like they have a lot of talent, and they need to figure out who Dom's next feud is going to be. Sheamus would be a good match for Dom because I think he could sell those 10 beats of the Bowery and all the stuff that Sheamus does. So yeah, now we'll talk about you missed the Karrion Kross promo from the international feed. Basically, Kathy Kelly asked him when you told Sami Zayn last week make the right decision before he made his decision not to go with Seth. Do you think Sami made the right decision or do you think that was the wrong decision? And Karrion Kross never really answers the question. He just looks at Kathy Kelly and he says, Sami made his decision and he paid for it. And then he just looks at Kathy Kelly and he goes, let me ask you a question. If Seth Rollins gave you the same opportunity, would you join Seth Rollins? And she's an announcer. She doesn't know what to say. So she doesn't answer the question. And he goes,
he asked the crowd,
would she have done? And would she join?
And everybody was cheering. They were like, yeah.
He calls all of his fans a bunch of bad guys because that's what he is. He calls himself a killer. This was a segment to get him on TV because he's getting over with fans.
Yeah.
But they didn't have a plan for him really. Like he had a match last week on Main Event that he lost.
I was gonna say, but that's the story of Karrion Kross. They never have plans for him. Yeah. They never have the end game of what he's doing. So it's more or less the same. It's hard to get excited, even when he's doing such fabulous work, to get excited for him because at the end result they're not gonna do anything with him.
Yeah, absolutely. he did. So, side note, I know you probably don't know who this tag team is, but there's a tag team in AEW/ROH who just left. They're called the Righteous. They their contract just expired. They're kind of like a cult gimmick. And as soon as it was announced that they were free agents, Karrion Kross today put out a tweet playing their music subtly in the background and doing the finger snapping, which is one of their things. So he's teasing a team up with another team from a different company. I don't know if WWE is interested in bringing them in, but it would be really cool to bring them in. Think of them as they're not Bray Wyatt cult. They're more like the happy flower gathering cult gimmick.
But again, then I raise you the question of what's the difference between that and the Authors of Pain?
I don't know. I have no idea. The Authors of Pain were just big guys. I mean, I understand what you're saying. You're just giving him another group.
But another group to do nothing with.
Yeah.
And how many groups are we going to have that we're not doing anything with? LWO, Wyatt Six, these guys, no, we have a lot of groups that we're literally doing nothing with. This is not AEW where there's 87 groups, but all 87 groups are somehow featured, not in non-well storied tales and crappy matches. But that's my point. There's not enough TV time for all these groups. And I like what they're doing. That's why I said it's okay. Now that I'm catching on to the rhythm of things, it's okay that you don't showcase certain superstars every week and you wait every other week or whatever. I'm okay with that, especially when sometimes the main, people are away doing other things and you can't showcase them. You have these stories on reserve and it's just a continuation. That's cool, but they haven't even started that with him. He's been regulated to backstage segments and segments that only show up overseas.
Yeah.
And most of the creative coming out of there that we're all lamenting on and thinking is so great is him doing himself on social media.
Mm-hmm.
So unless you're going to give this guy, let him be a part of the writers team, I have no faith.
Yeah.
And we just spent a lot of time talking about a guy who is not doing anything.
Got to talk about Karrion Kross, man. All right, so it's better than talking about this next segment. Becky Lynch comes out to the ring.
What is your hatred towards this segment?
Becky Lynch comes out to the ring.
Yeah.
And she starts cutting a promo. And she starts talking about why the fans should not be booing her.
Yeah.
And it leads into what she talked about on After the Bell this morning on the podcast. But basically, she says, you should not be booing me, you should be thanking me. Mm-hmm. Because I've been here for years, and I'm doing everything I've always done. And when it comes to Bayley, you guys booed me because I took out Bayley, but Bayley is trash. And I took out the trash. And she goes on for 45 seconds saying, when you take out the trash, you should be thanked for taking out the trash. No one asks you to take out the trash. You just do it. You know why you take out the trash? Because it's the right thing to do. And then we talk about the other one who's not. She goes, you're a little less trash, so you're recycling. You're like, what are you talking about? Like, why are you talking about trash and recycling in a wrestling promo? You literally just called Lyra Valkyria a plastic Coke bottle. Like, what are you saying right now? So she goes, Lyra, you're just recycling because you're the same thing, copy and paste. You're a little less trash. And Lyra comes out and she goes, I'm recycling? You just called me recycling? Well, guess what, Bayley? You're the queen of recycling.
Becky.
You recycled. What is that?
Bayley.
Oh, my bad. Guess what,
You're
Becky?
So upset.
You're the queen of recycling. You recycle the same moves. You recycle the same gimmick. You recycle everything year after year after year without changing. This promo made me want to put a boom, like a Jeff Hardy pistol guns in my mouth. Like, this was so bad.
You want us canceled so bad. You try hard every week, and it's crazy. Anyway.
And then, until the brawl happens, the brawl was okay. The brawl was great. Uh, but the lead up to the brawl, just no, I don't need to hear you guys talk about compost. Like, stop it. Like,
I liked it.
um,
I just want to
it was
point that out.
so bad,
I thought
bro.
it was good. It
No,
wasn't.
it was.
No, I'm not gonna say good. I'm gonna say it was adequate. It did its job. It did exactly what it needed to do. It set them up for the brawl. That's it. I don't need a top notch Becky Lynch promo every single time. Let's get to the point. That's it. She came out. She said
And then
they're all trash, and that's it.
And then Lyra comes out, and I understand they're English or they're Irish, but she kept saying Becky goes on holiday. And I know what holiday is. You know what a holiday is because we're intelligent. But a lot of wrestling fans don't understand that holiday means she went on vacation.
Yeah.
Like, can you just say vacation? So you went on vacation, or you went on hiatus. You're in America. You're talking to American wrestling fans. Please start using the language that they understand. That was my other takeaway with Lyra Valkyria. Like, please stop saying holiday.
If the wrestling fans are not intelligent enough to understand what they are saying, then that's on the wrestling fan.
It's not.
Yes,
It's
it is.
it's on the writing team to write promos that the wrestling fan will understand.
Holiday is understandable.
Okay, whatever. I just heard it and she said it multiple times. I'm just like, that's not something. Okay, but beatdown was fine.
You nitpicked the hell out of this segment. I just want to say, you picked the most random things to be upset about during this segment, and we both know why it is.
Why?
It's
Why
simply because she threw shade on Bailey. If she didn't throw all that shade on Bailey, you would not be this upset. You are picking out little things and making them seem like atrocities because she went and threw shame on one of your favorites. That's what this is.
What they did to Bailey at WrestleMania was criminal, and I'm still upset about it.
I understand that.
All right, so they have the pull apart beat up. It was fine. Babyface stands tall. Wrestling tropes. Babyface stands tall on the go home. Do we think Becky wins on Saturday?
It's for the title.
It's for the Intercontinental Championship. Lyra made it a point that Becky is jealous of Lyra because Becky has done all of these firsts.
Yeah.
And she can't claim to be the first ever. Why am I holding a nail clipper? She can't claim to be the first ever women's intercontinental champion. So she did make that point. So do we think Becky wins on Saturday?
Ooh, that's tough. Because I still feel it's too early, but again, Paul Levesque era, he does not care.
I told you I don't think I'll ever pick against Becky to win anything. So, I mean, yeah,
you'll never pick against. Yeah,
I said it right.
Yeah, you said it. I'm gonna say she retains.
Okay.
I'm gonna say she retains. I don't like my choice. I'll tell you that right now.
I think I'm going Becky, but we'll see. Are we doing a prediction for Backlash?
Maybe.
All right.
I don't think it's big enough that it needs one, but I guess.
All right. We'll talk about that. Okay, so then next match, Io Sky versus Roxanne Perez. Really great match. These two women put on a fantastic match. Roxanne, again, if you're watching the international feed, they let her have her first main roster promo during the commercial break, which I don't agree with. They should let her talk to everybody, but she cuts a good promo. She talks about she's a prodigy. She talks about how she's gonna beat Io tonight. And she eventually wants to go for that women's world championship. They have a really good match.
I love the finish. I love the finish.
Absolutely. For the second week in a row, they're having Roxanne be this old school dastardly heel where she's attacking a body part. She's trying to break down something on the other woman, and it was the legs, like wrapping the Io's knee around the ring post, putting on submission moves. And last week it was because she's smaller than Rhea, so you want to chop her down. This week is because you don't want Io flying around constantly.
Yep.
So the science and the psychology of the match is great. The finish is super old school as well. Io doesn't hit her moonsault to get the win. They went with the spot where, excuse me, the spot where they're reversing roll ups.
Yep.
And after like the fifth or sixth roll up,
I was going 17.
I think it was like 6.
It was a ridiculous amount.
It seemed like a lot. After like the 5th or 6th roll up attempt.
No, and then some of those roll ups ended up into another roll up where like she like there was like one point where Roxanne rolled her up and then continued rolling into another roll up. Like that's so I would count that as 2 separate roll ups, even though it was one. That's what I'm saying. There was counters. There was rolling to the rollings.
Yeah, so after like a few roll up attempts, counter attempts where each woman was trying to get the 3 count, Io was able to hold Roxanne down with the 3 count for the win.
I thought that was really cool.
Yeah. They do the post-match where Roxanne teases babyface turn, shaking Io's hand and bowing to her, gets halfway up the ramp, and Julia comes and blasts.
And you knew it was coming because of the camera angle.
Oh, absolutely.
The way the camera panned that it was showing Io, but you only saw like here and up, and then you hear the crowd. You already know somebody's jumping in.
Yeah, so Julia comes and attacks Io from behind. Roxanne runs back to help her friend beat down Io because it was all a ruse.
Yeah.
The crowd starts chanting for Rhea. Rhea must not have been in the arena or booked for that night because she did not come out to help Io.
Yep.
They hit 2 combo super kick curb stomp combinations on Io, and the NXT heels stand over her for the closing of that segment. Really solid segment. They're trying to make these 2 women into stars on that level. It's really good to see Io work with someone else other than Rhea because we said sometimes you have Rhea fatigue.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, while we're talking about Rhea fatigue, it just hit me. Did you hear that Becky said so many women had the greatest years of their career while I was out, but the women's championship was surrounded by a story about a guy with a dodgy mustache?
I did not hear that part.
She said that during her promo, and I was like, wow, okay. So I thought that was funny. Like, but yeah, no, it's great to see Io working with somebody else, and great to see them trying to elevate Julia and Roxanne. Then we get Otis versus Rusev. This was an okay match. I love Rusev.
This was supposed to be what Alistair versus The Miz was supposed to be, and yet again, it was not.
I mean, to the end of the match, they made Rusev look like a monster.
Yes.
But the actual body of the match, Otis got too much offense.
Yeah.
I love Rusev's new entrance. I think his music is great. I think they the lion roar to begin it, solid. They're trying to make him seem like a big deal again. Eventually gets the win with the accolade. But Rusev looks great. He's slimmed down. He's super athletic still. He's still hitting those
Rusev Tozawa. I'm ready for that match, bro. Ready for that.
To the end of the match, Rusev puts the accolade and taps out Otis and doesn't let go. Tozawa gets in the ring and rips his shirt off and get Hulk Hogan style. Yeah, Hulk Hogan style rips his shirt off. And Rusev was hilarious. Rusev just walks away from Tozawa.
He's like, I don't want these problems.
Of Tozawa. Tozawa goes to check on on Otis. And Rusev runs back into the ring and in one swoop grabs Tozawa from his armpit and hits him with like a side power bomb, and then puts the accolade back on Otis while everybody's trying to break him off. Otis sold this too much. I understand why you're selling the accolade for that long, but this was Pat McAfee trying to get back to the backstage. Otis took forever.
Yep.
He had to be the image of Otis being held up by two indie wrestlers who are half the size of Otis trying to get him back there. It was hilarious. You had Maxine crying in the back. You have Natalia trying to console her. You have Anna Pierce, and you have these 200-pound indie wrestlers trying to drag this behemoth to the back, who keeps selling his back halfway down. Like, no, stop it. But yeah, no, this match was too long. You need to do something more with Rusev. You do something more with Aleister Black too, because those matches were both too long. And I understand that Rusev's gimmick is going to be, I redeem myself. Now I'm going to attack and destroy people who need to redeem them, who need to redeem themselves, and I'm going to punish them until they do so. That's what they're going with. But if you're going to do that, you need to look more like a badass. You cannot be struggling with the lowest rung of the jobbers on Raw. Because Alpha Academy, it's Alpha Academy, and it's Joaquin Wilde and the other LWO guy, and Dragon Lee. That's it. Like, that's the bottom rung of the men's roster, and you cannot have Rusev be struggling with that.
That's true. Dito.
Yeah. All right.
But again, that's what I told you. It just seems like, again, yeah, we brought them back. Yeah, we want you to get excited for them, but we don't actually have a plan. That's what it feels like.
Weird, because when they brought Penta in, when they brought Phoenix in, they brought him in from another company, and they gave them something right away.
New shiny toys.
Technically, this is a new shiny toy. It's an old new shiny toy. This is like a toy
you took. It's not new, and it's not
This is shiny. Like a toy you bought in high school that got beat up.
Yep.
You lost for a while. You took to a refurbisher. They made it all nice and clean, and then you bring it back home, and it's like, why did I do this? Like, that's...
Why couldn't you just use an example of this is like you lending a friend a toy, and then they give it back to you after many years, and it's not the same. The joints don't work, and so on and so forth. Like something like
because
that.
Because my brain doesn't work that way. My brain.
You're like, you took it to someone to get it fixed. Like, what?
You know what I mean. My brain does not work that way. You know, I overthink everything. All right. Pat McAfee versus Gunther is next.
Oh, my God.
This is the segment was effective.
Yeah, I was going to say, Pat McAfee's promo was good. I thought the promo was good.
The promo was fine.
Yeah.
My only problem with his promo was he pandered to that crowd way too much.
I mean, but it's Pat McAfee. What do you expect?
He got into the ring, and he starts talking about... So Gunther and Pat McAfee have a face-to-face. Adam Pearce is in the ring, and Pat McAfee talks first, and he tells him, Michael Cole has been here for, I think he said, 28 years. Michael Cole has been here for 28 years, 52 weeks a year, and only 3 times has he missed a show. And I think once was for his dad's funeral, and the other times I think he was sick. But he goes, for only 3 times in 28 years has he missed a show. He has garnered the reputation and respect of everybody that he can have opinions of people. And if he has an opinion of you, Gunther, that's perfectly fine. Because, and then he starts talking about himself. He starts talking about these great, and it's great that we're in the city of Omaha, Nebraska. And he's talking about the football team. He's talking about Omaha Steaks. And he's talking about all these things just to pander to the crowd. And he goes, this is a hardworking American city. And me and you, Gunther, were very much alike. We're hard workers. I am from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. You're from Vienna, Austria. And he says, and he goes, while I was working my way to WWE, even though he says, this is both our dreams to be in WWE. I don't know why he said that. His initial dream was the NFL. He got to the NFL. Now he's in WWE. But while I was working my way to WWE, which was my dream, it was also yours. And he goes, and while you were waltzing around on the indie scene, so talking about his original name, he's like, while you're waltzing around in the indie scene, I was working my butt off to get here. And you have been a champion for 80% of the time you have been here. Mm-hmm. So you become jaded with all of your success because this is no longer a dream for you. This is a job for you. You come in and you want to be the best. He doesn't say that, but context, you come in, you want to be the best, and you take it too seriously. While when I walk into this arena, I get goosebumps, and I love the fact that I'm here every single week. So then Gunther gets on the mic, and Gunther looks at him and says, thank you for reminding me why I'm here." And just the heel thing, he goes, "I'm going to destroy you this weekend. Uh, I'm I'm gonna. I forget what Gunther's exact wordage was, but Gunther's just basically saying, "I'm going to destroy you. You reminded me of who I am, and I'm going to beat you. I'm going to beat you down so hard this weekend." And my problem with this is it was effective. Pat didn't sell being afraid of Gunther enough.
He's not
My
afraid
when
of
he
Gunther. He didn't show that at all. He showed that he's
that
ready to go. He said, you're too distracted, this, that, and the third. And he's
mhm.
basically made it seem like I know I can beat you.
Yeah,
He
which
said
is
something along those lines.
which
This version of you.
yeah, he said I can beat. He goes, I can beat this version of Gunther. You're correct.
Yeah. So that's what I'm
Which
saying. There was no fear. He didn't
but that's a
show
problem.
fear. No, I
That's a
get
problem.
you. I get you. I don't think it's a problem. I think he legitimately in kayfabe, I believe he should believe he can beat him because we saw what happened with Jay and whatnot and how fast he
Pat McAfee is not Jey Uso.
I get that, but again, in kayfabe as his character, he should feel comfortable. He should not feel that fear.
I think this would have been more effective. So he arose the fire in Gunther towards the end. He as soon as he saw that fire in Gunther, that he said was no longer there. Now you should have worry because this dude he was Intercontinental Champion for 666 days.
Mm-hmm.
He was World Champion for over half a year. He was NXT UK Champion for 3 years, whatever it was. That if you're getting that guy who wants to come in and be a killer and you're not a trained professional wrestler, I know he's had 3 professional wrestling matches, but if you're not a trained professional wrestler, going into the ring with that guy who hits as hard as anybody in that company, Pat needs to sell fear a little bit. He can still be confident and be like, I'm always going to defend my friend, Michael Cole, but you need to sell fear in that sense because now I'm interested to see what is Pat McAfee going to do in the ring when he gets in the ring when he's afraid, as opposed to, oh, Pat's just going to show up, be bouncing around, trying to hit moonsaults and all these things that he does on Gunther, and then he's going to get chopped down. I understand this whole segment is
That's
to try to
exactly
get.
what the match is gonna be. So I don't know why you over here acting like you're gonna
But I
be.
think the
Oh,
intrigue.
they gave it away. Like that's exactly what we all know what the match is gonna be. You acting like they're giving you spoilers, even though you already spoiled it for your goddamn self. The same matches you saw before Pat McAfee have. It's the same exact match you're gonna see on Saturday.
He's going to get way too.
You acting like he's coming out with all new moves. Stop it.
He's gonna have way too much offense in this match. This should be a 4-minute beatdown. Um,
I agree with that. But in kayfabe wise, I don't think it was necessary for him to show fear. I think he should think that he can beat Gunther, and then we're gonna see just how quickly he can't beat Gunther.
I don't think he should believe he can beat Gunther. I believe he should be confident in his abilities, but still be worried about getting into the ring with a former world champion. If that makes sense.
I understand what you're saying, but I
All
don't
right.
think he needed to show that.
All right. All right. So then we get the main event. Oh wait, hold. We didn't talk about Dominic and AJ Styles. I don't remember when it was. So AJ Styles comes into the back and he starts talking to Judgment Day, and he has a couple really funny lines. Carlito looks at AJ and he goes, "How'd you get in here?"
Yeah.
And he goes, "R-Truth told me where it was. In fact, it's not even that hard to find."
Yeah.
So then he's talking and he looks at Dom. He goes, "I want that," and he flubs. He does not know how to say intercontinental. It was hilarious. He's like and he goes, and so he goes, "My bad. I want to go 1-on-1 for the Intercontinental Championship." And Dom goes, "All right, we'll see what we could do." And he goes, "I still have something going on with Penta. We'll see what we can do." And then he looks at Finn and says, "You have history with AJ, right?" And Finn's like, "Yeah." He's talking about the Bullet Club. And he goes, "Why don't you take care of my AJ Styles problem for me?" And Finn's like, "You want me to take care of your problems because you took on too much to chew?" And Dom's looking worried. And Finn goes, Don't worry, buddy. I got you. Taps him on the chest. I'll take care of AJ for you. But again, they're continuing the story of the dissension of the Judgment Day and Finn being upset at Dom. And so we're probably going to get Finn versus AJ next week on Raw. That should be a main event caliber match. That should be amazing.
I just love the fact that I'm pretty sure he only had one title defense so far, Dominic, correct?
Yes, against Penta.
And then his exact words last night were essentially, "This is so hard. I didn't know it was going to be this hard." He had one title defense.
He is, in his words, he's the greatest Intercontinental Champion of all time. He's the greatest Mysterio of all time, and he's the greatest Luchador of all time.
Terrible.
Those are his words.
Don't make him right.
Dom's the man. All right, so then we get our World Heavyweight Championship match between Jey Uso and Seth Rollins. This was a fantastic match. This was easily Jey Uso's best match of his career.
Mm-hmm.
There were times, there were false finishes, there were super kicks, big splashes, kickouts. Seth Rollins, that spear into the pedigree was an amazing spot. It was like years ago when he was facing Roman, and Roman did it, and he did the same thing.
So many.
Before we even go there,
I was just gonna say, so many times in that match though, it looked like Jey was about to lose it.
Oh, 100%. They gave Seth a lot of spots, especially at that curb stomp after Braun hit the spear on the outside. Mm-hmm. Braun hits the spear, he goes for the curb stomp, and then Jey kicks out. Side note: did Paul Heyman and Braun Breaker hit the tanning bed a little too hard? Because those dudes were orange.
I thought Paul did.
Yeah,
I noticed it during this first segment. I was just like, wow.
Yeah, they hit the tanning bed super hard before that show. They were like, Paul was brown
together.
Yeah, I mean, Braun Breaker is always looking semi-orange sometimes, but it was really noticeable in Paul. My issue with this is I know why, because this group is going to be attacking everybody, and you want their thing to be spread across the show and it's spread across multiple people who are pissed at them. So many run-ins and this felt like WrestleMania when Cody won.
That's what I was gonna say. That's the only thing. It felt like this should have happened at a pay-per-view, if anything.
Yeah, but it's like, so
it's too early. It's too early in the feud for this, basically.
Yeah, towards the end of the match, after Seth kicks out after an Uso splash, Braun hits a spear on Jey Uso on the outside, which brings out Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn's music hits, and Braun starts to go to cut him off at the entranceway. Sami jumps out of the from the outside, from the crowd to attack Braun. Sami first gets gets the one up on Braun, throws him to the side. You knew Braun was going to come back because he didn't really do anything to Braun. He just like tossed him to the side, and then he was out of screen.
Yeah.
So then Sami is rooting on Jey. Braun eventually comes and hits a spear on Sami, who has his ribs taped from last week's 5 spears. Mm-hmm. And then starts to help Seth again. I think he hits another spear on Jey. And then CM Punk's music comes out, hits. CM Punk comes out with the chair. CM Punk blasts both Braun and Seth with the chairs, beats them down to force a disqualification in this match.
I never heard the bell.
I never heard the bell either.
Okay, I'm not bugging.
But as soon as he hit Seth with the chair, Michael Cole did say he just cost Seth.
Yeah. No. I heard that. But
I never heard the bell.
Never heard the bell. Okay.
Seth Rollins, Paul Heyman, Braun Breaker, they go up on the entrance ramp. They're staring at CM Punk, who's in the ring with Sami Zayn, looking at everybody. Show goes off the air. After the show goes off the air, I don't know if you saw it, WWE did put out, when Jay's celebrating with the fans, Logan Paul punched Jey Uso in the face and knocked them out after the show went off the air.
I did not see that.
Yeah, it was on their socials today. They're continuing that going into Backlash. Really solid match. Like I said, this is a great match, probably the best match of Jey Uso's career. If it's either this or one of the Roman matches, the I Quit match in the Hell in a Cell, or the other one. Jey Uso this is a title defense, right?
Yeah.
Did not come out from the crowd.
Yep.
He came out through the entranceway because he's serious, Jey. I'm defending my championship.
Yeah.
I would have thought at that point, though, all right, cool, I'm going to face Seth Rollins. Let me come out with the crowd. And I thought he should have came out with the crowd and celebrated, came out with the fans, because that's my gimmick. I don't have a blood feud with Seth Rollins. Yes, I'm defending my title, but I don't have a blood feud with Seth Rollins. So let me come out with the crowd, because this is what we. But other than that, it's just a little small nitpicky thing I have. This was a really great thing, and you're going to continue the story with Seth Rollins and Paul Heyman going for that world championship eventually. CM Punk thing doesn't seem to be going away. But eventually, you're going to have Rollins continue gunning for that world title because of what Heyman said. Heyman said, step 2 in our plan, Seth Rollins needs to be world champion. I don't know if you caught it during the thing, and we didn't talk about it. The backstage segment earlier in the night, when Rollins walks away, and it's just Breaker and Paul.
And he's
Heyman.
breaking down. He was like, do you understand what happened?
Breaking it down.
And then he's like, sorta, kinda.
When Braun says Seth freaking Rollins as world heavyweight champion, he's not enthusiastic. He's not smiling about it until Paul Heyman has to really explain it to him why. I took it as Braun Breaker is like, yeah, Seth being world champion will be cool, but when is it my turn?
Yeah.
That's the way I took it. And then Paul Heyman's like, yeah, but you have to understand, Seth beat Roman and Seth beat Punk. And while they were thinking about each other, and while Jay's focusing on Logan, this is the perfect time for Seth to strike and take this championship. He had to explain it to Braun in a way so it's for Braun to understand and be on board. So, because we've said we don't think this is going to be a long-term stable. I think eventually Paul Heyman and Braun Breaker go out on their own.
Yeah. I thought it was really good. I was waiting for you to start going on your little rant about Sami.
Oh, okay. So, yeah, we'll talk about that. Sami Zayn. You got beat down so bad last week. The Undertaker should have came back circa 1992 and put you in one of his caskets. Darby Allin should have came with one of his body bags and put you in one of the body bags. There was no reason at all for Sami Zayn to be part of that segment last night.
I disagree.
Zero.
I disagree.
It's
unnecessary. It's unnecessary. It is unnecessary. No, I'm saying it's unnecessary for him to be off TV.
He took 5 spears and a curb stomp.
So what?
If you're not going to write off a guy off of those spears, you're never going to write anybody off. Yes, he came back and he had the DDP rib tape on last night.
Which I felt was enough.
That was not enough, because what you did with Sami Zayn last night, you could have just taken Sami out of the match and just had the run-in from CM Punk at the end.
No. What?
You don't need Sami there for the finish of that match. There's no reason for Sami. If you take the Sami getting speared away by Braun Breaker, and you still have Braun spear Jay, then you have Punk come out with the chair and you do the exact same thing. You have the same effect. You did not need Sami Zayn there.
Good sir, I could argue that we didn't need Punk and Sami made more sense. What's your point?
No, that does not make any sense.
It made perfect sense. Sami was there to get his lick back and also to help out his friend Jey Uso.
Which could have happened weeks in advance and would have been more impactful because he would have been off of TV.
Not weeks in advance, weeks later.
I mean, weeks later.
Get your story straight.
It could have happened weeks later. It would have been more impactful because he would have been off TV for at least 2 or 3 weeks selling the rib injury.
But nobody's arguing that it would have been more impactful, but you're saying it was unnecessary. It's not necessary or unnecessary. It was just that's how they decided to play it, and he didn't need to be off TV. You just think that it's more compelling that he be off TV, which I could understand your argument, but you're trying to make it seem like this was just a bad play. It wasn't a bad play. There was just a better play.
There was definitely a better play.
I agree with your take. I agree with it. But my point is, what I'm arguing with is the fact that you're making it seem like this was a bad decision. I don't think it was a bad decision to use Sammy. I just think there was a better choice. That's it.
I don't like when his music hit. I'm like, they're not bringing him back this early. It made no logical sense in my brain.
I knew you were angry about it. As soon as he came, I was like. And Harm was talking about, oh, he needs to be off TV. I don't want to see him on TV for weeks. Blah, blah, blah. Like, you literally said that when we watched it.
They murdered the man on live television. Like, they did everything short of bringing out an oxygen canister for him in the middle of the ring last week after he got hit with 5 spears.
Here we go.
Like, it was just... All right. Anyways. So Raw was much better.
Yes.
This week. How do we fix SmackDown? Because if they can do this for Raw, why can they not do it for SmackDown?
They can do it for SmackDown. They're just not. I don't know if it's different writers. I feel like Paul's part of both, no?
Yes, he's a chief creative content officer, whatever his title is.
Whatever his title is. So the point is that no, they can easily do it. They're just not doing it. They have so many stories going on. They even have intermittent stories going on. Like, they have so much going on Raw. They just haven't taken the time to do the same thing on SmackDown. They've done what we said, which is focus a little more on the tag, but that's about it.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. It's just a problem at the top of that card on SmackDown. And I always forget who the United States champion is. I know it's Jacob Fatu, but every time I got to think about it sometimes. But yeah, no, it's just they have such a problem at the top of that card and getting to that final. And again, I don't know if it's because we're watching on Netflix and we can watch. And if you're watching Raw on delay on Netflix, you can just like skip commercials, so it feels so much faster.
Yeah.
Than watching the international feed on SmackDown, the 3-hour SmackDown. SmackDown just feels like it drags way longer than Raw.
Mm-hmm. I can understand that.
Yeah. All right. So overall takeaways from the night. What are you excited about next week? I think, like I said, we're getting AJ Finn next week. I think that's maybe all they announced for next week because they're not going to announce anything until after Backlash.
I just want to see A-Town Down break up already and then do something. do something with Austin Theory. I thought the Seth stuff was good. I thought the fact that Jay put the title on the line last night, retained. But now what? Because they're gonna keep coming. So what's the argument for keeping coming? Because you already had your title shot.
It was a disqualification. Now he can go to Adam Pearce and be like, CM Punk screwed me out of my shot. I had that match won.
And then he'll be like, you screwed yourself because you tried to...
You tried to cheat your way through it,
yeah.
But we're going to end up, again, like, I know this feud has been going on forever, it seems like now, but we're going to end up getting another Punk versus Rollins match at some point. It'll be a little bit different this time because you'll have Heyman in the corner of Rollins.
Yep.
So it's a little different.
And Braun Breaker will be there somewhere. Breaker.
Yeah, so before we eventually get Rollins returning to try to claim the World Heavyweight Championship. My whole takeaway was great main event segment. It's keeping me engaged. I'm not the biggest Jey Uso fan. Jey Uso's looking much better than he had any right to be before we started this whole Royal Rumble WrestleMania run. I don't care about the match this weekend. Logan Paul's not going to win, so whatever. And please do something with Rusev. Like I need something better with Rusev other than he destroyed Otis this week. And then probably next week, oh, who are we gonna face next week? One of the Creed brothers? Like I don't need him working through the jobbers of Raw before you figure out what to do with him.
Mm-hmm.
Like put him in something with somebody credible. Like I don't know who it's gonna be because everybody seems to be wrapped
Caught
up in
up,
this whole
yeah.
Seth Rollins thing right now.
Yeah.
But he needs to get into something with somebody sooner rather than later.
I agree, and I'm literally going through the roster right now, and I can't think of anybody to put him in a program with right now that isn't caught up in something else. To your point,
I mean, I would have said Penta, but everybody's just caught up with
I was gonna say everybody's. He has 2 feuds going on.
We missed the chat, and we didn't talk about the backstage segment where he goes, "Hey, Americano." He where Adam Pearce looks at Chad Gable when War Raiders are arguing with New Day and you missed the segment.
No. New Day was arguing with Chad Gable.
New Day was arguing with
they
Chad
were
Gable
talking, and then that's the one where Becky comes through all of them, and she was like, "Hey," and then they were
that's
like,
a different backstage segment.
Oh, then I have no idea.
Yeah, that's going into Becky's. There was a backstage segment where Adam Pearce was talking to the War Raiders, and they were like, "We want the New Day again. We want a tag title rematch." And New Day come in, and they're having a conversation, and then Chad Gable comes in, not with the Creed brothers, by himself, while both tag teams are there. And Chad Gable says, "What about my boys? What about the Creeds? They should be getting another title, a championship opportunity before the War Raiders." And the War Raiders like, "You know what? If we got to beat down the Creeds before we get to the New Day, we'll do that." So they made that match for next week. So we'll get the Creeds versus War Raiders next week.
Hopefully, the Creed brothers win.
Yeah, I hope so too. After everybody leaves, Adam Pearce goes, "Americano," and Chad Gable looks back at him, and he goes, "Happy Cinco de Mayo," and Chad Gable goes, "Gracias." It's hilarious. So it's like, yeah,
you would like that.
That was hilarious. He goes, "Gracias."
I gotta find though. Was that international feed?
It was a backstage segment. I was assuming. I was assuming it was on the regular feed.
I didn't see it. I don't know.
Well, yeah, there was.
Okay.
So, well, if they're making matches for next week, I'm pretty sure it wasn't on the international feed.
That's also valid.
All right. Well, yeah, that was funny. Yeah, that was it. Raw was much better. Overall, it was a good show. Hopefully, they continue this moving forward because we have Backlash and then we have Money in the Bank in June. So,
copy.
Hopefully, it continues.
All right.
All right. You want to do it?
Yep. As always, thank you to everybody listening on our Spotify or our YouTube. Thank you for engaging with us on our TikToks as well. We always appreciate any likes, comments, subscriptions, and we do this for you guys. We want to try to build the community, and we thank you always. Catch you on the next one.
Peace.